Unity has finally realized just how bad their mistake is. And now, in their panic, they are apologizing to everyone they upset. And when I say panic, I mean it. I don't think I've seen a company do such a public nosedive in a long time. I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point that even if the CEO personally got on his knees and begged for forgiveness in front of an assembled mass of Unity developers, they still wouldn't trust Unity in the future. And that's kind of a big deal with how big Unity is in the indie game developer space. I mean, colleges even teach entire courses on Unity game development. I personally took 2 classes on it myself, but I won't be going near it with a 10-foot pole anytime soon. So today, let's talk about what they did, their apology, and what they're doing to pretty much beg people not to leave, and what I think is going to happen. Firstly, I guess I should tell you what Unity is in case you don't know. It's a game engine that made it easy for developers, mostly indie, but with some notable big companies using it too, to make games without worrying about developing their own engine, and allowed them to easily export their games for a number of major platforms. Since it's big with indie devs, the pricing on Unity has historically been very low, with no real significant cost, until you reach a fairly high degree of success. A lot of people compare it to Unreal, which is one of its competitors. I've seen a number of content creators saying stuff like, Unity is for 2D and Unreal is for 3D. And I just want to point out that that's just completely false, and I have no idea where they got that idea. You can use Unity to make 3D games, 2D games, VR games, etc. It's like a Swiss Army knife. But anyway, they were really big with the indie scene because Unity is easy to use, has a lot of resources for devs to use, and it wasn't that expensive for indie studios. The low cost and high demand of Unity developers in the workforce led to colleges offering Unity courses, which has worked to skyrocket Unity's success, since a lot of the fresh out of college game devs are already trained and willing to use the Unity engine. Unity seemed to have thought that this entrenchment that they'd managed to dig with the indie developers was going to keep the indie devs at the very least with them no matter what they decide to do. And well, as it turns out, the Unity CEO once said that it might be a good idea to add a feature to Battlefield that would charge users money for ammo once they're far enough into a play session, back when he worked at EA. So I think it's obvious what he was going to go after: money, as much money as possible. And so Unity decided to go for the bad ending and start down the path of greed. They announced without much warning one day that they were changing the entire pricing model for Unity. Of course, any pricing change would be bad since devs have already sunk so much time and effort into their games on Unity that switching would be difficult, so they're basically forced to go along with it or abandon their projects, which isn't exactly a fair bargaining environment. But Unity went full Standard Oil on this one, adding a runtime fee, which would charge developers not for every time their game is sold, but for every time it was installed, which on its face is ridiculous because Unity has no way of knowing how many times a game has been installed, unless they were planning on embedding spyware into the runtime. But what's worse is that it seemed like, since it's per install, if you have more than one gaming device, the developer would get charged for every single time you put it on another device, but they only sold you one copy. On top of that, it seemed like Unity intended to include pirated copies in this as well, which would see developers charged for copies they never made any money on. Even worse, anyone with a tiny bit of computer knowledge could have set up virtual machines to install a game as many times as they want, making an easy way for bad actors to instill financial harm onto the developers. Basically, it seemed like no one with half a brain at Unity took a look at this and bothered to think about the implications before releasing. The problem Unity had was that despite it being kind of difficult for people to move away from Unity, people don't really like being screwed over. Even after it was clarified that the new fees wouldn't kick in until 200,000 installs and $200,000 in income over 12 months, people were still upset. So the sentiment in the developer community was basically that indie devs who were working on Unity were going to finish their games if they couldn't feasibly port them to another engine and then just never develop in the Unity engine again. Because despite how popular Unity is, it's not like it's in a field that it holds a monopoly on. Immediately, people realized they could just swap to Unreal or Godot. Godot got a lot of attention here particularly because it's an open source and free engine, kind of the opposite of what Unity was turning into. The game developer rage got so much attention that even non-developers started to hear about it, and it made the news. I think that in corporate America, the guys at the top, the big dog executive types, who tend to be out of touch in a company like Unity, don't notice pushback or negative sentiment until they start getting emails from reporters, which is kind of weird because mainstream media is dying out, but hey, I did say they were out of touch. I think they started getting contacted by all sorts of people interested not just in the changes, but the massive negative reaction and news of developers boycotting the engine, and they finally realized that this might not have been that good of an idea, because they went into damage control mode. They released this rare open letter to their community in which they essentially walk back everything and put in place a much more realistic and developer-oriented fee structure. To our community, I'm Mark Whitten, and I lead Unity Create, which includes the Unity engine and editor teams. I want to start with this. I am sorry. We should have spoken with more of you, and we should have incorporated more of your feedback before announcing our new runtime fee policy. Our goal with this policy is to ensure we can continue to support you today and tomorrow, and keep deeply investing in our game engine. You are what makes Unity great, and we know we need to listen, and work hard to earn your trust. We have heard your concerns, and we are making changes in the policy we announced to address them. Our Unity Personal plan will remain free, and there will be no runtime fee for games built on Unity Personal. We will be increasing the cap from $100,000 to $200,000, and we will remove the requirement to use the Made with Unity splash screen. No game with less than $1 million in trailing 12-month revenue will be subject to the fee. For those creators on Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise, we are also making changes based on your feedback. The runtime fee policy will only apply beginning with the next long-time support version of Unity shipping in 2024 and beyond. Your games that are currently shipped and the projects you are currently working on will not be included unless you choose to upgrade them to this new version of Unity. We will make sure that you can stay on the terms applicable for the version of Unity editor you are using, as long as you keep using that version. For games that are subject to the runtime fee, we are giving you a choice of either a 2.5% revenue share or the calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game each month. Both of these numbers are self-reported from data you already have available. You will always be billed the lesser amount. We want to continue to build the best engine for creators. We truly love this industry, and you are the reason why. I'd like to invite you to join me for a live fireside chat hosted by Jason Wyman today at 4 p.m, where I will do my best to answer your questions. In the meantime, here are some more details. Thank you for caring as deeply as you do, and thank you for giving us hard feedback. Mark Whitten. The problem for Unity is that I think this is too little too late. While removing fees for Unity Personal, increasing the cap and force splash screen for it as well, saying that no game making less than $1 million in 12 months will have to pay anything, and swapping to the 2.5% revenue share for games that do reach the thresholds rather than a runtime fee was good. The 2.5% revenue share being very good when compared to Unreal. They've already lost the trust of their users, and I don't think there's any way to get that back. What Unity did here was a move so incredibly greedy, making it financially infeasible for developers to continue to release games using an engine they know and have been using for years. When their core user base was indie devs, a demographic known for being basically just people doing game development in their spare time, or people who have decided to invest a lot of their available cash into making their dream game into a reality. Either way, not a demographic that's financially stable. And those indie devs were just forced not only to consider the financial prospect of staying on Unity long term, but also the reality that Unity is a company that has now shown that it is willing to screw over its devs on a whim, even if it did end up capitulating in the end. And that damage is not going to be easy for Unity to undo. Personally, I think this mistake was so huge that the only way I would ever trust Unity again is if they fired all of their leadership staff, especially the CEO. Because otherwise, what reason do I have to think that they won't try this again in 6 months? What I see happening from here is that there will be a few months to a year of slow decline in the usership of Unity as developers finish up projects that they've already started and take the time to become acquainted with another engine. And once that's over, so is Unity. I really don't know how they recover from this. What do you guys think? Is it possible? That's all I've got for today, so thank you for watching, have a great day, and God bless you. So, everyone knows that MrBeast is kinda like a YouTube savant, right? The dude eats, sleeps, and breathes YouTube. So much that pretty much all the big YouTube channels will copy his stuff. If not his content, then his thumbnails and titling themes and whatnot. It's actually a pretty good strategy since you can reap the benefits of what MrBeast has learned without putting in any of the effort. And that's why when you look at your YouTube homepage, you probably see a ton of videos that are virtually indistinguishable from one another. It seems like a lot of channels follow the basic premise of having something to do with the video in the background and the creator's face in another layer to the right or left of the image, following the rule of thirds. But what you may have noticed is that recently a lot of creators have been changing their thumbnails, whereas previously the creators would use an image of them making a shocked or screaming open-mouthed face. Now, they've all got their mouths closed. So today, let's talk about how MrBeast got creators to do the unthinkable and actually shut their mouths for once. A lot about YouTube is luck. The only thing that YouTubers can hope to do is influence the algorithm in their favor. To that end, a lot of YouTubers will take whatever they can from successful videos and channels and try and apply that to their own stuff. Now, this sort of trickle-down economy of algorithmic favor has to start somewhere, and it's kind of obvious that a lot of it stems from MrBeast. Not only is he a huge YouTuber, but he and his team actually care about understanding what's going on behind the scenes and using that to their advantage. You see, there's a secret that YouTube doesn't really want want anyone to know, but they will oftentimes add tools and features that are only available to the biggest channels on YouTube. Unless you've got a ton of subscribers or you know someone at YouTube who can force you in, you'll never get access to these things. One of the more recent things that YouTube added for these types of channels is the ability to test different thumbnails for the same video. And while most big YouTubers seem to not care to actually use the fancy features they are given, let alone share them with the unwashed masses, MrBeast does both. He doesn't keep it a secret when something works or when it doesn't. So one day he tweeted this out: "I closed my mouth on all my thumbnails and the watch time went up on every video, LOL," with 2 attached screenshots of the secret thumbnail A/B testing feature. The photos show the thumbnails to 2 of his videos, each with one option that has his mouth open in the stereotypical YouTuber expression and one with his mouth closed, smiling. MrBeast's saying that once he started using the thumbnails with a closed mouth smiling, that he saw an uptick in the watch time. Now, if you're not a YouTube guru, that might be meaningless to you, but watch time is one of the biggest things that the algorithm looks for when deciding what videos to serve up to people. More important than likes, comments, and subscribers, which, speaking of which, you should do right now if you haven't already. So somehow closing his mouth in the thumbnail made people watch for longer. Now, don't expect me to explain why. The human psyche is an enigma and psychology is a pseudoscience, so no one will know for sure. But my best guess is that when people see the open mouth scream face, they click the video expecting to see something super exciting, and when it's just moderately exciting, they click off faster. But the smile doesn't come with that expectation. I don't know, but MrBeast did back it up with more proof. Responding to a tweet that said, "Shocked face meta is over?" MrBeast responded by saying, "Seems like it. Here's more results. Now that I can actually A/B test thumbnails, I don't have to guess, and I just test and see what people want. My mouth would have been closed years ago if I had this tool," and some more screenshots of other videos where he experienced this effect. So it seems like, at least among MrBeast's audience, which is one of the largest audiences on the platform, but is probably skewed towards the younger crowd, the new meta is to keep your mouth shut in your thumbnails. And you can already see the effect that this has had. When you're done with this video, go ahead and look in your recommended section on YouTube. If you look for it, you will see it. Just within a few seconds of looking, I've already seen some video thumbnails that seem to be copying this pretty much exactly. It'll be more noticeable on channels that are either super into the YouTube meta or channels that emulate MrBeast, but I personally watch a lot of aquarium videos on YouTube, big fish guy me, and I've even seen this closed mouth effect start to creep into those thumbnails. I wish YouTube had a feature that would let you look at people's past thumbnails, because I'm certain that there are a number of content creators that went back and updated all of their thumbnails to match the new winning formula, but I can't exactly prove it without access to either a time machine or an abnormally powerful psychic. If you've got either, let me know. I'd like to borrow it for a few days. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? Have you noticed the subtle change in people's thumbnails? I personally have, but I'm always interested in hearing what you guys have to think, so let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and God bless you. So, I really didn't think that I was going to turn on the news and see that the government lost a fighter jet this week, and yet here we are. That's right, the US government, more specifically the Marine Corps, managed to lose an entire F-35, $100 million jet this week. And when I say that they lost it, I don't mean that it crashed. Well, it did, but they also couldn't find it and had to ask people to check their fields and backyards to see where it would turn up. Honestly, I don't know whether to be impressed with our technology, because the stealth on the F-35 is so good that not even we can track it, or worried because we can't even find an entire airplane in our own backyards for at least a day. Today we're going to talk about that. What exactly happened? Well, this F-35B fighter was in the air for a training mission out of the good old state of South Carolina. It belonged to the Marine Corps, specifically the Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 501. And according to the official report, there was some kind of mysterious malfunction, which caused the pilot to eject from the plane. Now, if you know anything about modern American military doctrine, our equipment is meant to be technologically superior and give us the edge to strike hard and fast, so that the bad guys never even know what hit them. The F-35 Lightning II is a 5th generation combat aircraft. The F-35 in this accident was actually an F-35B, which means it's even cooler than the regular model. It's designed for short takeoff and vertical landings. Basically, they can take off from anywhere, dispense some good old American justice onto whoever deserves it, and then land anywhere, and be home in time for dinner before the enemy even knows what hit them. These things are the cream of the crop when it comes to the US, and more broadly NATO's air power. And they expect these things to protect freedom and smash our enemies until at least 2070. So you can probably see why it's pretty embarrassing to lose one of these things. I mean, if it just crashed, that's one thing. Probably shouldn't happen, since one of these bad boys costs more than the average American taxpayer could make in 3 lifetimes, but that'd at least be understandable. In this case, the pilot ejected while the plane was still flying. Some sources said that the plane was on autopilot when he ejected, but we really don't know because, well, they're being really tight-lipped around what happened. All we really know is that this pilot ejected ejected from a $100 million aircraft that I think we can safely say was still able to fly, and let it ghost ride itself off into the sunset. People really, and rightfully, want to know what happened because it's not every day that the Marine Corps lets an airplane go free flying through the sky. The lack of explanation about the cause for the pilot's ejection is, well, kind of worrying, and it's causing people to come up with all sorts of rumors. I've heard everything from that it got shot down by an alien spaceship to the simple, and in my opinion much scarier, the plane was hacked. Considering F-35Bs do have an auto-eject feature, it's certainly not impossible. I find it strange that the pilot would have willingly abandoned his aircraft while it was flying towards a civilian area. You see, the stealth on this plane was so good that not even we can track them, especially when we're not expecting to have to, which might point towards a weakness in our defense posture, but that's not really for me to say. And since there's nothing that outclasses American firepower, American sensors were not able to find it. So what did the military do? They went to the public. They asked people to check their property and see if they just happened to have found a big hole with $100 million worth of metal in it, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because what they basically said was, yeah, so we accidentally fired this expensive, deadly, and untrackable jet right at all of your houses, and well, we can't find it. So can you guys all go out and check? The irony is that despite how ridiculous it is for the military to have to ask farmers to go out and check to see if their cornfield suddenly self-harvested in the shape of an impact crater, is that it's actually a good thing that they needed to ask for help, because if they knew where it landed, given our apparent lack of ability to track the thing, that would mean that it hit someone's house. We are very lucky that no one, not even the pilot, was injured, well, except the marvel of American engineering that ended up as a big hole in the ground. The plane did not survive uninjured. The thing that makes it even funnier is that it actually worked. They found the plane, or really what was left of it, crashed in a random spot in South Carolina, about 80 miles away from where the pilot decided that he wanted to go for an unexpected skydive. Given the F-35's max airspeed of 1,200 miles an hour, it would have taken this thing 4 minutes to travel that distance. Considering this was airborne for a training mission, and I don't think anyone mentioned hearing a sonic boom, I would guess that it was going slower than max speed, probably slower than 767 miles an hour, meaning this thing was flying itself for anywhere between 4 and 20 minutes before crashing. Which again, marvel of American engineering, we don't even need pilots to fly our planes into the ground. The Imperial Japanese Navy could learn a thing or two from this. But the question remains, what really happened? It really seems like in this scenario, the pilot probably should have tried everything in his or her power to turn the plane towards like something that wouldn't mind having a plane crash into it, like the ocean or a field, before abandoning the aircraft. The US military tries not to put people's lives in danger, but this thing flew over people's houses for several minutes on its own, and no one knew where it was going. That seems like a very big deal. So hopefully we get an update as to what actually happened soon to put the rumors to rest. But airplane crash investigations tend to take a long time, and I'm guessing the fact that the F-35 is now just a bunch of tiny metal shards that would probably take quite a long time to reassemble into something looking like an F-35 isn't going to help the investigation. This incident did prove something though. No matter how advanced your technology is, sometimes there is no replacement for sending a few good boys out into the woods with some beers and a mission, because this time, farmers came out on top of the US military. What do you guys think about this whole mess? What do you think happened? Let me know in the comments. Have a great day, and God bless you. So, Roblox just had a really terrible idea. What else is new? Like usual, it seems like they're going to go through with it too. You see, Roblox really wants to be, and is slowly succeeding at, becoming the metaverse that Mark Zuckerberg dreamed of, just with potato-level graphics. This time, that means that they want to add a dating component to Roblox. That's right, they want to add a dating site to their game for children. Oh, and don't worry, they've decided to make it 17 plus? I don't think they're going to be beating the allegations anytime soon at this rate. So today, let's talk about this and, well, why it's possibly the worst thing they could ever do. I don't know about you guys, but when I look at Roblox with its Lego-esque graphics that make Minecraft look like a 4K movie, I don't immediately think that it's a great place for adults to hang out. And I think when you dig into the details and see that half of Roblox users are under the age of 13 and 75% of them are under the age of 18, you can see why. It looks like a children's game. But they've somehow took a game that was originally just a worse looking Minecraft minigames lobby and turned it into a metaverse that pulled in over $2 billion last year. They've realized that while adults tend to be more conservative in their online spending, children have no qualms with yeeting their parents straight into credit card debt in order to buy some new cosmetic microtransactions. On top of that, they've managed to grow a community of developers to make new content for Roblox and in return get some kickbacks, but allows Roblox to shift some of the development responsibility to their users. It's a good system, but it has some drawbacks. Roblox has consistently been criticized for its lack of moderation and inability to protect children, its main user base, from harassment and abuse. There have been instances of games making it onto the platform which were adult themed and explicit. explicit. There have been notable instances of predators using Roblox in order to prey on children online, including at least one case where a man was arrested and charged with kidnapping and assault on a 13-year-old that he met on Roblox. And that's not to mention the numerous anecdotal accounts of Roblox community members being creeps, as highlighted by Ruben Sim, or the allegations that young game developers are sometimes financially exploited, threatened, and sexually harassed. So you can see why it would be worrying that they've decided to add a dating component to Roblox, which I guess will be in-game. Because of course a company with their reputation for moderation troubles regarding their young, mostly minor user base would want to facilitate dating. Certainly, no one could possibly insinuate that that could go wrong in any way, shape, or form. And so when the CEO of Roblox, David Baszucki, took the stage at the Roblox Developers Conference to tell the gathered masses what he had envisioned, it was immediately massively criticized online. So far though, Roblox hasn't walked back the announcement, so let's take a look at some of the details. The dating experience would only be available to players who have verified their age as over 17. In order to verify your identity and prove you're over 17, you need to submit a photo of your ID, and also a selfie that shows your face. This means that you're either sending your selfie and your ID and the information on it to Roblox or whatever third-party company they use. You should never do this. Submitting your government ID online is a really risky thing to do, since while most companies will claim that they delete your information as soon as they're done with it, often, well, let's just say that companies do lie sometimes. Now, I'm not saying that Roblox or whoever they use are lying, but I am saying that if you're going to get your government ID released in a data leak, you probably should have had a better reason to take that risk than to verify your age so that you can e-date in a children's game. Beyond that, it's incredibly strange to me that they've said that the dating application is going to be 17 plus and not 18 plus. This is a massive risk. Well, it's not exactly uncommon for an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old to be dating if like they meet at school and they have birthdays that make one of them 18 before the other or something. It's an entirely different thing if your dating app is allowing minors to meet with adults online. I don't understand how or why this made it to his announcement. You'd have thought that someone would have said, hey guys, why don't we make it 18 plus? If we make it 17 plus, we're being sketchy and it won't help the rumors going around. But no, apparently no one at Roblox thought that allowing legal minors onto a dating app, which will also allow adults, would be a bit of a PR mistake, let alone overshadow the entire announcement itself. To be honest, if they just said that the dating app was 18 plus instead of 17 plus, people would have been like, wow, that's weird. Roblox is making a dating app? And then no one would have cared beyond that. But by announcing that it's 17 plus, they've just kind of ruined the whole thing for themselves. And like, it would be weird enough if they were just expanding to allow people to try and meet potential boy or girlfriends in the game, but the announcement said that this is going to come with some other features too. Firstly, they're going to let you use an AI-powered tool to make a character in the game that looks more like you, which again seems like a way for them to get a photo of you, which I would be wary of providing them. But given the average Roblox character, I don't really know what exactly this is going to do, since the amount of actual realism on a Roblox character is virtually zero. So you've got to wonder about the logistics of this whole thing. What are you going to see? Someone with a cool looking Roblox character and fall in love with them? Date them without knowing what they look like? That does not seem like a great idea, since if you ever want to actually date someone, you should probably know at the very least that they are who they say they are. But as I understand it, you're going to end up trusting Roblox's verification service to tell you that who is sitting beyond the screen is who you're talking to. This just seems like a terrible way to meet a future spouse. But there is a potential fix to that issue. They're releasing a video chat feature that they're calling Roblox Connect, which will let you video chat with people you meet in Roblox. That might help out with knowing who you're talking to, but it doesn't really help out with the whole bad moderation and exploitation of children reputation that Roblox has garnered in recent years. It just seems like adding a video chat feature and a dating feature into a video game that has a 75% minor user base is a recipe for disaster. But hey, what do I know? Personally, I think they should just fire whoever is approving these ideas and just hire someone who can think with at least half of their brain power, because I don't know if there is a worse feature they could launch when it comes to their public image. I mean, don't get me wrong, they could possibly get this to work. I can't imagine it would ever have a large user base, but if they change the age verification to only allow legal adults into the dating feature, don't launch video chat for anyone who isn't verified as a legal adult, and somehow make a way for people to see who someone is when they're meeting in game, rather than just being a Roblox character, I think it could have a chance. Not a great chance, because I legitimately can't imagine people actually meeting and dating from within Roblox. How would you even explain to people how you met? But I mean, if they got rid of all the weird or icky parts of this announcement, it's a bad but viable idea, I guess. The problem really is that Roblox didn't think about the implications that would come from their children's game allowing a dating experience that it seems like, from their own announcement, would allow legal minors and legal adults to interact. That's like a massive and completely obvious problem. I can't overstate how much that makes me skeptical of their executive team. What do you guys think? Do you agree that Roblox dating is gross? Would you try it out if they fix the obvious problems? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and God bless you. So, just the other day, Mexico was holding their own version of the UAP/UFO hearings that got a little out of hand when they literally rolled in 2 caskets holding the bodies of what the presenter announced were aliens. Now you can guess what the typical reaction was. Some people believed it wholeheartedly, while others were just a bit skeptical that these were real. After all, Mexico does have a bit of history with making somewhat crazy claims. Only a few months ago, their president posted on his social media a photo that he said contained some kind of ancient elf-like creature. So is Mexico just the only place telling the truth? Are the elves and aliens sipping mimosas in Cancun? Today, we're looking into it. So, these little dudes are supposed to be the aliens. I keep seeing people talk about how these look just like what we see in the movies. And honestly, I have to ask what alien movies they're watching, because I can't think of a single one that has little 60-centimeter tall aliens. That's just shy of 2 feet tall for those of you who use the superior measurement system. I guess they've got big eyes, but it's less like the stereotypical alien look and more like a regular old reptile. Also, the head isn't as big as it would be in the movies. But okay, whatever. Let's assume that these people have all been watching alien movies where tiny little green men come out of their tiny spaceships and start attacking everybody's ankles. The more valid criticism of these mummies is that the guy who brought them to the Mexican Congress has been known to do some hoaxy things in the past. Jaime Maussan is who brought the 1,000-year-old mummies in there. Some people are saying that the Mexican government brought them in, but that's not true. He's not a member of the Congress. However, he did have to convince enough members of their Congress of the veracity of his claims for them to endorse him enough to be given the time to speak at the hearing. They don't just let any old bozo walk into Congress with little green men. He is, however, widely viewed within Mexico as a sort of meme for the claims that he's made in the past. In fact, it looks like he had come forward with a mummy similar to these ones in the past, which was debunked. He has criticized the debunk because the debunkers never actually laid eyes on, ran tests on, or even looked at the specimen in person. Critical's most recent video about this situation has a video in it that explains the debunk. And while the debunk is pretty convincing, Jaime is correct in his criticism. It's kind of bad practice to debunk something based on photos, when the opportunity exists for you to run actual legitimate scientific tests on the subject. And several scientists did look at these mummies before they were brought to the Mexican Congress. In fact, Jaime did not just bring the mummies to the Mexican Congress. He had previously had a hearing before Peru's Congress, where he brought forensic scientists and geneticists. Peru was where the mummies were found. In the Mexican Congress, he even released over 40 gigabytes of genetics data, which he claims prove these little Nancy Pelosi looking dudes are actually not fake and are in fact something unknown to science. Let's be clear, if he didn't come forward with so much supposed evidence, I would 100% outright think that these things are fake. Personally, I still think these are fake and that they were only presented to help downplay the legitimate UFO disclosure efforts happening in the United States. But I personally do not have the ability to say that the forensic scientists he brought in were liars, and I'm not a molecular biologist to be able to parse the genetics data that he released. I'm not able to personally disprove the evidence he provided, so I cannot come out in good faith and tell you that I know 100% these are fake. We will get into why these are most likely fake later, but first let's talk about what we do know about the mummies, based on their presentation to the separate governments. Now, I need to give credit to a guy named Clint Elric on Twitter for digging most of this information up. Editing MattyO here, he's since updated with a number of things that he finds strange about the following, which might end up being more evidence these are fake. Basically, DNA tests were done on these bodies by a team of scientists. A geneticist from UNAM, a large and respected university in Mexico, named Salvador Angel Romero, presented the findings, which showed that 70% of the DNA did not match any known animal, which would make these mummies something that not only is unknown on Earth, but something that is so unrelated to other Earth fauna that we don't even know where it would have evolved from or what it could possibly have evolved into. It's not something that makes much sense at all. More distantly related to the Earth's genetic tree than we are to bacteria. A forensic pathologist, Jose de Jesus Zalce Benitez, said that he studied the remains and found no evidence that they were fake. In fact, he said that it looked like the object was a single organism with a functional anatomy, which directly contradicts a lot of the debunking, which claims that the bodies are just animals all mashed together. And this forensic pathologist has actually seen the bodies and studied them, which the debunkers have not. Dr. Benitez also focused on one of the body's legs, saying that the femur and ilium show wear that appears natural, saying that it was a consequence of its existence. It was alive. He also said that the mummies have joint capsules, tendons, and ligaments, which would be almost impossible to artificially replicate. But that's just a couple of scientists who could be crazy, right? Well, their findings and the bodies were also examined by a team from one of the top medical universities in Russia, the St. Petersburg Medical University, and they corroborated the South American team's findings, with the Russian team represented by Professor Dmitry Galetsky, noting that their anatomy is completely different from anything found on Earth. Finally, the findings were corroborated another time by Mexican biologist Jose de la Cruz Rios Lopez, who said that these bodies were the legitimate bodies of humanoid reptiles. There is a lot, and I mean a lot, more evidence that was presented in Peru, so give Clint's Twitter thread a read. I'll put it in the pinned comment, but hopefully now you'll understand that it's not crazy to believe these things might be real. There are a number of legitimate scientists from some well-respected universities that went on the record to state that these things are in fact real. There is weirdly more evidence that these things are real than there is that these are fake, but that doesn't mean that I think they are real, because I don't. If the evidence released during the Mexican Congress hearing checks out after being looked at by American scientists, that might change my tune, but I think what we are looking at here is a sophisticated attempt to discredit the legitimate UAP disclosure process going on in America. I think that it's likely that someone who was involved in the cover-up of the UAP phenomenon most likely pulled some strings to not only get the bodies in front of the Mexican Congress, but potentially to create the evidence that makes the whole thing so confusing as well. Think about it, you're running a highly secretive government operation that is either hiding the existence of advanced technology and weaponry, or the existence of alien life from the American people. Those people aren't going to be happy when they find out what you've been doing. And now the people who are coming forward to Congress in America are well-respected career military men, not liars. Suddenly, there's a huge interest in what you've been hiding, with a number of very powerful people starting to think that there might actually be something here, where in the past, they'd have dismissed it as being crazy. What do? You make them seem crazy. What better way to do that than to roll out mummies in front of a Mexican Congress that clearly has an interest in them, and in a country that has a lot of cultural interconnectivity with the United States, so it'll be sure to get on the news there. Back it up with some evidence that will take a while for anyone to prove false, and you've got yourself an easy way to make people look crazy and to discredit the actual work being done back at home. There is of course the third, and in my opinion, coolest option, that everyone is wrong and that these things aren't fake, and that they're not aliens, but rather little dinosaur people who accidentally found themselves entombed in a mine in Peru prior to the asteroid hit. Well, no one is actually claiming this is what's going on. I personally think that this is the option that would make me the most excited, because imagine little dinosaur people driving to work in their dino cars, avoiding the stegosauruses in the roadway. Of course this is silly. I mean, the entire scenario is silly. If those things are real, then the Mexican government just dropped the disclosure of alien life on a random Tuesday night by rolling in the bodies in tiny little coffins. That's just ridiculous. But the universe tends to like the funniest option most of the time, so I wouldn't be too surprised. At the end of the day, no one who hasn't seen these things knows if they are real or not. Personally, I think they're fake, but let me know what you think in the comments. Don't be afraid to throw out your own wacky theory, that's part of the fun. If you haven't already, check out my videos on the UFO whistleblower and the actual real disclosure going on right now by the factions within the American government. Thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and God bless you. Jacksepticeye has been around for a long time, one of the YouTube OGs, doing Let's Plays to this day. But MrBeast has come in and kind of flipped the YouTube ecosystem. He quickly passed every other YouTuber, even PewDiePie, to become the most subscribed to actual creator on the site. But he did change something. Gone are the days where just posting random Let's Plays will bring you all the way to the top. MrBeast brought in actual high quality, almost television levels of effort and insanity to his videos, which kind of changed the game for everyone. Obviously, this has had a lot of effects on what happens on YouTube these days, but Jacksepticeye is not happy about it one bit. He was in a Tommy Innit lie detector video and got caught saying some things about MrBeast that really upset him. So today, let's talk about the Jacksepticeye and MrBeast drama. So, what happened? Well, Jacksepticeye, whose real name is Sean, but uses the name Jack interchangeably with his real name online, was in a Tommy Innit video where they were hooked up to a lie detector and asked some uncomfortable questions. Seems kind of harmless, right? After all, everyone knows lie detectors are fake, but part of the YouTube trend is to hire these lie detector people and pretend the whole thing is real. It's even possible that Jack didn't look into it and even really thought that it was real. But anyway, these kinds of videos are usually just some pointless, embarrassing fun. But the trouble started for Jacksepticeye when a user clipped out this part of the video and posted it onto Twitter, where it got a lot of attention.
Don't you like MrBeast? No. Do you think MrBeast ruined YouTube? Yes. Why? Because it became more about views, money, and popularity than it did about having fun. If he had fun doing those videos, they'd be longer.
So, Jacksepticeye said that he doesn't like MrBeast, that he thinks MrBeast ruined YouTube, and that MrBeast made YouTube more about views, money, and popularity than about having fun. Now, I'm going to talk about all of those points and why he's just incredibly wrong here. First, let's take a look at how MrBeast felt about this clip. He wasn't very happy. He responded to a tweet of that clip with the following: "So, I ruined YouTube because I didn't buy a mansion and sports cars and instead reinvested my cash into making content / focused on doing good and inspiring kids to help people. If he had fun, the videos would be longer." What does that even mean, LOL? You think I'd give up every hour of my life for 14 years if I didn't have fun? This clip is insanely disrespectful, IMO. And obviously, there is so much I could say about his content, but I'll just take the punches and be the bigger man. Sigh. Needless to say, MrBeast was not very happy about Jack badmouthing him. He's being a bit nice by not commenting on Jacksepticeye's videos, but I think it's kind of obvious what he's trying to say here. He's saying that Jacksepticeye is in it for the money more than MrBeast is, by pointing out that Jack's bought more luxury things from his YouTube earnings than MrBeast has. And he's too nice to say that Jack still posts Let's Plays, which are not exactly comparable to the type of content that MrBeast makes. I mean, let's be honest here, Let's Plays are not hard to make. Anyone can do it. Now, not everyone can succeed, but it's still not a lot of work to sit down for a few hours a week and film yourself playing video games. I assume Jack has an editor too, so it's even less work for him than it would be for any random person, since he's not editing his own videos. Meanwhile, MrBeast is putting out videos that take more effort than more than likely Jack's entire channel has ever taken. Let's be honest here, there is a reason MrBeast grows so quickly. He pushes the limits. Instead of taking the money and buying supercars and fancy stuff, he reinvested his YouTube money to make the videos better, which in turn makes more money, which makes his videos even better. He's putting out better stuff than any TV game shows, and pulling in numbers that the television networks can't even dream of. I mean, when was the last time that a TV show got 1 million views on cable? Meanwhile, MrBeast's videos hit over 100 million views routinely. Compare the scale of what Jack's doing to what MrBeast is doing, and they're not even on the same planet. I'm sorry, sure, you can have fun and make a lot of money doing Let's Plays, but it's really not that hard to do. That doesn't mean Jack has to like MrBeast. He can dislike him if he wants. I think there are probably a number of other big YouTubers of the past who don't like MrBeast for the effect he's had on YouTube. People now expect more from the content they watch. The thumbnail game has been basically solved, which is why you see everyone using the exact same thumbnails, and even the abundance of MrBeast clones has all come from him. But none of that is, I think, very different from what Jack was doing back in the day. Everyone starts YouTube for fun. It's a hobby. But you don't stick around as long as Jack has, for the fun. I mean, even MrBeast would agree. Once you get to their level, it's a business. You're doing it for the money. That doesn't mean you can't have fun while doing it, but the reason why you do it does evolve over time. It's an amazing job, one that everyone wants, but it's still a job at the end of the day. I think that a lot of Jack's bitterness comes from the fact that it used to be easier. He didn't have to focus so much on the algorithm to grow when Jack was new to this platform. But I don't think that the MrBeastification of YouTube is actually MrBeast's fault at all. It's what the YouTube algorithm wants, which means that it's what YouTube wants. You can't blame MrBeast for playing the game, especially if you're just doing it because he's playing it better than you. The fact of the matter is that YouTube hasn't really changed all that much in all these years. It's still just people doing whatever they can to get noticed and have their videos viewed. Back in the day, this was grinded by reply girls. Then Let's Plays grew in the algorithm because of their high watch time. And now, MrBeast style videos are the new big thing because they maximized both click-through rate and watch time. Hey guys, Editing MattyO here, just jumping in to ask you to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It really helps me out. Thanks. Back to the video. I don't think that there is a YouTuber out there that can say that they know the algorithm as well as MrBeast does. Dude's like a savant when it comes to YouTube matters. So obviously, this has painted a target on his back. And I think that the sentiment that Jack has, where he dislikes MrBeast and what he's done to the platform, is really just a cop-out. It's saying, I don't want to have to work so hard. Why can't I just do what I've always done? It's also an opinion held by a lot of the old guard of YouTube. Most of them won't admit it so readily though. Ever since the term MrBeastification was coined, people have been blaming the change in content from unique stuff towards stuff that feeds the algorithm on MrBeast. But it really just isn't him. He's playing to the algorithm and other people want to do that too, so they just copy him. That's not his fault. Anyway, for some reason, big YouTubers like Jacksepticeye don't like getting into drama and will immediately cave as soon as someone comes comes at them with a better take. And with MrBeast coming for him, Jacksepticeye bent the knee faster than a medieval peasant before his lord. They immediately messaged each other and talked it out. Though I'm not really sure what he could have said in those messages, except that he was playing it up for the camera, which does go against the whole lie detector angle of the video. But like I said before, lie detectors are nonsense. Anyway, MrBeast confirmed that they had squashed the beef. Posting on Twitter, "We messaged, we're Gucci now," and Jacksepticeye responded with some emojis. So I guess the situation came to a pretty anticlimactic end, which is probably for the best. I mean, it would be cool to see two big YouTubers going after each other, but at the same time, it probably wouldn't be the best for the platform. Public feuds rarely are, not to mention the damage they could do to their own audiences by going after each other. What do you think about this whole situation? Do you think that Jack was right? Did MrBeast ruin YouTube? Or was he just being out of pocket and MrBeast got hit by a stray for no good reason? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and God bless you.